topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Camping Show. I'm C.W. Getz.
And I'm Willow Munson.
It is Wednesday, September 1st, 2021. We have a beautiful 75-degree. It was actually right at 75 today, and it was just a light little breeze. It was just perfect. You don't get too many days like that in Illinois, especially at my house, the blow zone, I call it. Pretty bad, but yeah. So, Willow, what's your weather like over there?
Yeah, speak for yourself. Hurricane Ida is going through Pennsylvania right now, so it's currently extremely rainy. Wow. That's all it's been.
Yeah, you were mentioning before the show the rain is so loud. I mean, is it?
Yeah, I'm worried there might be some feedback because it's just pouring in on the windows right now.
Oh my gosh! I mean, you're getting all the wind and the rain at the same time, and
yeah,
wow.
And it's in big gusts too.
Wow, that doesn't sound like any fun. Well, I hope you stay safe over there. Yeah, because you're in Pennsylvania right now. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm back in the U.S. and in Pennsylvania. And here I'll be for a while. It was awesome. Morocco was awesome. Portugal was awesome. I ate a lot of food.
Well, so how long? I mean, you actually came back and you went home to Duluth, because where you live, or your folks live, where you grew up, and then you went to Pennsylvania, or did you go right to Pennsylvania?
No, I went right to Pennsylvania. So I went to I came right back from Portugal, and then I started my uni.
Wow. Did you have any jet lag or getting back to
a little bit? I had some pretty early mornings.
I mean, it's like a culture shock when you come back here. I'm sure, like, even though you were gone, a couple months, something like that, 3 months?
Yeah, 3 months.
Yeah. Culture shock getting back to but you got a Starbucks here, right? But you had Starbucks there, right?
True. Not in Morocco.
No?
Maybe one at the train station.
Yeah. I'd have been going through a little withdrawal. No Starbucks. That'd been bad.
Oh, no.
Well, tonight's episode is brought to you by Campground Views, making camping easier.
And by Rutabaga Paddle Sports, providing time on the water.
Tonight's episode is Happy Campers Summer with our special guest, Kevin Callan. Willow, could you tell us a little bit about Kevin, please?
So Kevin, a.k.a. the Happy Camper, is the author of 18 books. He is an award-winning writer and a keynote speaker at outdoor events across North America, and is also a regular guest on several television morning shows and CBC Radio. Kevin has several film awards to his credit and writes a column for Paddling Magazine and Explore Magazine. He was listed as one of the top 100 modern-day explorers by the Canadian Geographical Society and was made patron paddler for Paddle Canada.
Well, with that, welcome to the show, Kevin.
Welcome, Kevin.
Oh, did my mother write that bio?
Mom writes all my stuff now. She's taken over another position. I said, "Hey, we got David Lee Roth backstage." I wanted to say that, but I couldn't work it. So he's back there doing handstands and flips and things before he comes on. Oh man, how you been?
Good. Yeah. I just came back I was in Algonquin doing interviews, Algonquin Outfitters in Algonquin. The main outfitters it's their 60th anniversary. So I went around the park. It took me 3 days and visited all the main managers, all the access points, and asked them about the future, the past, whatever. Yeah. And I had the head honcho, Rich Swift, and I interviewed him. Really nice guy, but he is the owner of one of the largest outfitters in Canada, right?
Wow.
And we're filming this, and I just don't. I'm not a very serious person on camera.
I haven't noticed that. I just thought you were the most.
I've learned. Well, there's certain things I've learned in film through the years, and he had shorts on, and I kind of had to say to him, "Hey, moose nose," and he said, "What are you talking about? Moose nose?" Meaning like you cover up something showing there, buddy, before we.
Oh wow!
That's what we call it.
What kind of films are you doing up there, Kevin?
Well, we're doing porn, yeah.
I guess it sounded a little like that, and I go, "No, he's not going to say that," but he did.
Oh man!
Oh my God! So you know what? It's been since March since we talked to you. And by the way, Dennis said he wrote your opening line, so I'm going to give him credit for that.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad you actually said nice things. Thank you, Dennis.
And Mustang, how are you doing? See you chiming in there. You know, it's been since March, it says here. But you know what? I know you were on a couple episodes. You were on with the Cliff special. We did something else, and I forgot what it was, but you were on that show too. But maybe that was I don't know. Was that the anniversary? Anyway, it says March here. So what have you been doing since March or the last episode?
Well, let me take a drink out of my Bob, or no, what's his name?
Ross? You've got a Bob Ross cup?
Yeah.
How did
You're
you
too
get that?
excited about that.
Oh my
and
God.
when the hot tea goes in it, the painting appears.
Oh, stop it.
Disappearing now already because
for real. Come on. Yeah. I'm a dumb farm boy. Naive farm boy, not dumb, but I believe you. Is that true?
No, it is. Seriously. What you just watch throughout the show, it will turn black. I
am gonna keep an eye on this cup now.
And this is just to prove to Dennis that I'm not drinking whiskey tonight. I'm actually drinking tea.
Okay, it's not, what is it? Not monkey breath, not monkey knuckles, but what is it called again?
Monkey shoulder.
I know it's not monkey butt because we've already determined that a couple of times. What is it called?
Monkey shoulder.
Willow, you have to party with this guy. I mean, he is.
I clearly have a lot to learn.
Oh my God.
Monkey shoulder, it's one of the nicest blends of Scotch. Actually, it's not a single malt, but it's a good blend. You can have it, and it's cheaper. So
I mean, couldn't they give it a more appropriate name? I mean, like, what is it? Monkey what? Shoulder?
Monkey shoulder.
I can't remember shoulder.
We got moose nose, monkey shoulder. You're learning a lot.
Wow. And I mean, it's not single malt, but still good nonetheless.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I think I tasted it that night. I think you poured Cliff on a belt of that stuff, and I don't think it was Chivas Regal.
No, well, I mean, if you buy, it's funny the difference of a whiskey there. If I bought that here, it would be like a really good deal for $36. If you bought it where you are, it would cost you $2, I think.
Wow, I like that. Well, I remember because I bought Cliff a double Chivas at the whatever restaurant we were at that next night, I think it was, and he's like, "Wow," and I'm like, "Yeah, now here's some good Scotch, man." So I don't know what that,
I had the greatest time ever on a film shoot years ago. We had gone 9 days along the coast along Newfoundland in kayak, and we finished it, and we got the whole film crew and everything else into a local bar, and the bartender left and asked the waitress if she could take over, and I said, "Hey, can I have a whiskey?" And she goes, "Which one?" And I went, so I pointed, I'm thinking, I don't think she knows there's a difference. So I pointed at the most expensive whiskey ever. Oh, wow. And she poured a solid glass like this full.
Well, you needed an installment loan to pay for that, it sounds like, right?
Well, she charged me $3.
Oh, no.
So all of us, well, we want more. And we tried to drink as much whiskey before the bartender got back and figured out what was going on.
Oh, my gosh. Really? So you're a gangster?
Bold.
You're a gangster.
It's terrible. That's what you do after 9 days in the wilderness.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine. I can only. Don't you take any with you? I mean, just a little at night before,
Yes.
I mean, Cliff does that too. I mean,
yeah.
Willow, do you do that?
Yep, for sure. And there's a difference between whiskey with an E and whiskey without the E, right? So whiskey is like rye, or even bourbon, but Scotch doesn't have the E in the letter or in the word. And and it only can be made in Scotland. So if you find a Scotch that's made in Tennessee, it's not a Scotch.
I see. Interesting. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Willow, she's looking at us like we're a couple alcoholics here. What does Willow drink? Does Willow drink? Does she have a little ale? Well, not ale. That's just
ale.
Ale. Hey, what do you drink?
I don't know. It depends. I'm not a big drinker, but I also don't go on like these crazy 10-day adventures where I need a little something at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, Kevin makes up for the both of us. He takes.
Seriously, I'm not the Dean Martin of the Canoe world. I swear to God, I just have a wee bit, just a wee bit.
Yeah, you just dated yourself there. You know that, right?
I know.
Dean Martin. Willow's like, who in the hell is that? Oh, and rightfully so. He says, well, yeah. So, I mean, I just figured, hey, I'd ask you, see what you were up to since March, but it sounds like you've been kind of busy. Yeah.
No, it was really busy in the spring. Well, we had another lockdown, the third lockdown. So that slowed us down getting out in the woods for a bit. So we had to sort of like, come on. And then we're allowed to go out. It was almost like a bunch of horses being let out of the barn. But the very first thing I did is I had a job actually through Explore Magazine, writing about where I grew up and where I connected to nature. So it was Milton, which is actually southern Ontario, southwestern Ontario. So it's right across from Detroit. And I grew up there. My dad took me out fishing, and then I loved nature. And I worked out at a wildlife center, worked in forestry, did all these contract jobs, and went trout fishing as a kid and that sort of thing. So I thought it was really cool. After that lockdown, I needed to keep sane. And I always find it helps to go back to your familiar places. Mm-hmm. So I went back to a whole bunch of places. So I went for 18 days and I visited a different provincial park or conservation area every day or every night.
Oh, wow.
And what I also did along the way is I interviewed local people and promoted their stuff to help local businesses because they were not doing well. Nice. But get this, what reality of it was, I got some cool stuff. So every day the tourism set me up with a local brewery, like where they make their own beer. Okay. So every day I'd visit them, I'd taste their stuff. They'd give me stuff. We'd go back to the campsite. We'd have somewhere on the fire, all the local foods and stuff like that. And then I visited places where I banded birds, and I went and banded birds with them where I used to work. And it was kind of cool. I dressed in a bee outfit. It's hilarious. So one day I looked at the script and I was like, I'm visiting a place where they make mead, which is actually beer made of honey. That's cool. I've never done that before.
Yeah.
A really nice local family. They've been doing it all their lives and their grandfather's lives, whatever. But they kind of befriended me. So they took me out to the bees, and then they put me in this full bee costume, and it was a heat wave. Oh, I thought I was going to die. Wow. And the guy that was handling the bees had nothing. Like he was like, and I go, are you getting stung? He goes, yeah, we used to get stung about 10 times a day. I was like,
oh, wow.
And he's so used to it, it didn't bother him. So
I wonder, do you become immune that way when you get stung so many times? Or
I always thought you weren't immune. The more you get stung, the worse it is. But him and all his kids and all the family, they all got stung and they're all fine, I think.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well,
I did.
Well, I was wondering, because you were talking about kind of going back to your roots and your familiar territory outside, but now I feel like there's so many first-time adventurers that are taking to the outdoors that have kind of created some unexpected issues. Has that created any issues in regard to etiquette, do you think?
Yeah, absolute nightmare. I think everybody that's been out there this year can agree with me. Goods and bads of it. It was because of COVID that this happened. You couldn't go anywhere else except your local areas. You couldn't go traveling. But also a lot of people wanted to go back to reconnecting with nature because we're all born from wilderness, and that's deep down inside of us. We're all like that, every single culture on this earth. Absolutely. So they started going for walks for the day in the woods, really liked it. They want to go camping for the first time. You still can't buy a canoe. I mean, Novacraft Canoe, they have a night shift going on making canoes, and they're still overbooked beyond next spring. Yeah. Wow. There's so many people. You can't buy a stand-up board. There's no, and you could on Kijiji for thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So I think that was really great because I spent all my entire career getting people out in the woods so they can reconnect with it and protect it. So I was like, yay. Yep. But it shows in history that this always happened. Like after World War II, that happened. After the Great Depression, that happened. But also there's some people that don't know what they're doing. So there was a lot of injuries, a lot of deaths, a lot of drownings, which is not a good thing because then people get afraid of nature again and they stay away from it because of those. So we had to make sure, we're educating people on that. And also people just doing things. They're like, what? Why would you think that? Like, I've never seen so many people poop on the portage, like right on the portage.
I was just going to ask you what kind of things, but yeah, just like that, huh?
And when you talk to the people, because, I'm not angry with these people. I just sort of say, hey, you're not supposed to do that, eh? And they're like, I didn't know. But it's almost like that Steve Martin joke. I didn't know armed robbery was illegal. It's like, really? But I'm gonna ask you guys some etiquette stuff that people didn't know. I talked to them on the portage. So if I have a canoe, like say an 18-foot canoe, really heavy canoe, and I'm going down the portage, and someone is coming the other way with a pack on.
Right.
Who moves over?
I would say the guy with the biggest load is accommodated.
Yeah,
that's what I.
So if you got the big canoe, then basically, the person with the pack, it would be easy. Well, this person didn't, and then kind of shoved me aside and gave me a curse and said,
"Did you give me one of these with the front of the canoe as you went?"
Well, I'm a little bit Irish temper, so that was close. But I said,
"Flopping over if it would have been me."
Oh my God! But I said to the person, I said, "Well, don't you know the canoe gets first right away?" And they said, "Where's the sign saying that? Is there a sign saying that?"
Do you need a sign, really, idiot? I mean, honestly, isn't that a common sense that, or wouldn't you think?
No, I don't know. And I just, I think that a lot of people were getting, and also washing your dishes. Like so many people would take their food, go down to the water's edge, wash their dishes right there. And of course, that's where people get their water to drink, right? So it's like, why would you do that? But if you look at the old videos and old films of the past, these things are not new. There were so many people going out, and then the government had to step in, or nonprofit groups step in and educate them. What we did, because I went to the government and said, well, I'll help you with an education program. And they're like, well, we're trying to go crazy. You're trying to deal with all this, Kevin. We don't really want to work with you because you're a little weird. No. And
did they really say that?
Oh, they did. Yeah. Well, they can't work with someone like me because I say my own thing. Yeah, and the government doesn't say their own thing, right? Yeah. So I get that. So I went to my film buddies. I said, okay, let's get Gary the puppet out. I've worked with this puppet before. You can make fun of a puppet, not a person. So we had Gary the puppet. And you really have to, after this interview, go and look at Crickets Make Me Nervous. It was an old Ontario Parks video done in 1970s when the same thing happened. So many people were going out.
I know about that.
Oh, it's hilarious. And so we created Gary Makes Me Nervous video, and Gary did everything wrong. Like he peed on the campfire. But here's a really funny story.
You don't do that?
No, well, if I have to put it out.
Isn't that how you put those out now, or no? Is that an old thing then? That's a
UBU C.W. look. Bob Ross.
I can just see you doing that along with the Bob Ross cup with the whiskey going, I'm just going to put this fire out.
Yeah.
Never mind me. I'm going to bed.
Oh, man. But, I mean, it got quite a few thousand views the next day, and it's because people got it. They're like, yeah, don't be a Gary. I wanted to make up a T-shirt so badly. Don't be a Gary.
Yeah, right. But, hey, you can still do that. You can still do that. Yeah, absolutely. Interesting. So, I mean, what do you do? I mean, what do you do when you see people on the trail doing this? I mean, do you yell and scream at them, or you just go, hey, you're not supposed to do that? Or, I mean, are you politely scolding that? What are you doing?
There's three things you should do. One is very kindly educate them because most of the people just don't know, to be quite honest. If you've never line danced before, you're not going to be a good line dancer. Right? I'm not sure why. As you can tell, I was talking to my mom just a few minutes ago about her line dancing.
Line dancing.
It's like subconscious. But so you educate them and you say, well, you should do this. And if they get defensive, go to hell. And
people get mad at you on the trail going, hey, listen.
Oh, definitely. I've had people do that. I had a couple of guys, I rescued them. They were overloaded in the canoe and they're going in big water. And I said, hey, guys, you might want to wait. Told me where to go. They flipped. Wow. And I did a rescue with them. And I said, you want to talk to me now? Like,
you're right.
And no, they were still right. I was wrong.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Little pride issue going on there, you think? Or
well, it was almost like if you do something stupid once, then you learn from it.
Yeah.
If you do something stupid twice, then you're going to die.
Generally.
So I shouldn't say that. I was wrong. So.
Well, that's okay. But, I mean, I can't believe someone would actually, after you save them or help them, then they wouldn't go, you know what, mister, we're sorry.
Well, most people do, but narcissism gets in people's way, right? So now you could do also, so education is number one. And after that, it's fines, like fine them. But
fines really work? Do they really work?
Well, no, they don't, because I was in Algonquin Park and I met these guys who were dumping a bag of garbage on the portage. And I said, hey, take it back. Well, screw you. We're not doing that. We're not carrying it. And I said, well, someone's going to get you a fine. So I started filming it, right? And I said, well, you're going to get a fine here. They go, it's what, $250? Who cares? Actually, it was only $150. And they said, and even if we get fined, really, we could fight that.
Wow.
Rich kids.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was just thinking that. Wow.
Yeah, the money meant nothing to them, right? So, and then there's a certain point where you can educate, you can find them whatsoever, but eventually they're not going to go camping anymore. So the good thing is, and just to put everybody at ease, and this is a historical thing that has happened before, you have a massive amount of people going out, like quadruple the amount of people going out in the interior and the backcountry right now. But that will weigh. And I would say about 2 to 3 years from now, if you're wanting to get a canoe, wait, because you're going to see all of them on sale on Kijiji. Because once we're allowed to go travel again, once COVID comes down, then everybody's going to spread out. And there's going to be a very small hardcore of people, new people that have learned and been educated and love the wilderness more. So I don't think it's really a bad thing. We just have to deal with what's going on now.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? I had this, and I said Willow. I said number 2, but I meant number 3 because we just pretty much going through that. I was going to ask you. I said, hey, as an influencer, you get people to here as an influencer or advocate of promoting people to experience outdoor adventuring for the first time. Do you have any reservations about encouraging the masses, to get outdoors? But you pretty much answered that. I mean, it's like, hey, yeah, I want to do this a long time, but now we've created a problem, and the problem's not a new problem. It's just a reoccurring one, basically. So, yeah.
It really is. But there's also the thing that's going on now that hasn't happened in history, and it has to do with getting things too easy. I always put it towards a trout stream. You really work hard to find trout in a trout stream, and when someone wants to find that place easier than you did, you get very upset with that. And because you really worked hard doing that. So imagine this, on the Nipissing River, I would walk down that river, wade in it in the summer, and I would feel the cold water coming out of the side of the banks, and that's where the brook trout would hold up in the summer, and I would mark that on my map, and that's where I'd go fishing.
Oh.
Now, Jake, an old timer up there, showed me how to do that. Well, when I said that once at a show, they're like, well, can I have that map? I went, why would I give you that map? Why? And
you do the work for us, and we want to reap the benefits of your labor.
Yeah. So I think, and a good story to tell that happened here in Ontario. There was a fishing guy, Mike Bolger, and he's a writer too, and he's on social media. And him and his son went to Algonquin Park, and they videotaped. They have a YouTube channel, massive brook trout, biggest brook trout I've ever seen. They were catching, right? Yeah. And so, of course, everybody on the YouTube was saying, "Hey, where's that lake?" He goes, "Well, sorry, the rules are like ethically, I'm not going to tell you." And so someone went to the government and said, under the Freedom of Information Act, I want to know where he camped.
Wow.
Yeah. So it went to court, and the guy lost, and they appealed it, and he lost again. But you're thinking, what? Who would do that?
Why would he even think that he could win that? Exactly.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, can you tell us more about the recent interview you did with Diane Whalen?
Oh, she's the real deal. Holy jumping. Greatest person ever. Yeah. Get this. So she's a filmmaker. And so she wanted to go across the Trans-Canada Trail, which is it's a new trail. It just opened up a couple years ago, or more than that, I guess, whatever. But it was when we turned 150. And it actually goes right across Canada for 24,000 miles, right? Mm-hmm. So she's had this great idea. She goes, well, I'm going to go across it. I'm going to bike it, walk it, canoe it. And it'll take me 500 days. So her film was called 500 Days in the Wild. Well, she just finished. It took her 6 years.
Whoa. I didn't catch that part because I watched part of that interview, but I didn't see that. Oh, my God.
Yeah, 6 years. And what happened was she did it like a turtle, not a hare. She visited local communities, all the First Nation communities. She would stay with them for a while, learn from them. She wasn't in a hurry, and it was all about immersing herself in the spirit of nature as opposed to going as fast as possible, which is another thing that's happening now too, because there's a lot of marathon people out there, and because of COVID, they couldn't do their typical marathons. And hats off to them to do it. I'm not that type of person. I don't get why you would race through the wilderness. I don't understand that at all. I worked so hard to get out there. Why am I going to rush to get out? But something in Ontario, in Algonquin, called the Meanest Lake, which is something I've done. It's a race around the park, and of course I did it the slowest ever. But they had so many people that they're wondering if they should shut it down doing this race.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the record was actually 4 days. It took me 3 weeks. So But going back to Dee, so what happened was she was on her second year, and Explore Magazine contacted me to do an article on her. So I said, well, I phoned her and I said, I'll catch up to you in Peterborough, near where I lived. Mm-hmm. And she was, yeah, I'm a little behind, so just going to camp near this bridge for the night. I'll see you in the morning. I said, whoa, what bridge? Well, just outside of Peterborough. I went, no, if you camp under that bridge, you'll either be murdered or you'll be high on meth by the morning.
Oh, wow.
So I said, no, it's not a safe place. So here I'm trying to protect her, and she's going across Canada her own, and she was fine, right? So I kind of like silly me, but so I brought her back here, and she stayed here for a few days, and I got to know her. And you just have to listen to the interview I did with her. She speaks like a poet, and she was telling me how she might be done soon. Of course, like 6 years later, she gives me a call. Oh, I'm done, Kevin.
Oh my gosh! You ever wonder what happened to her? You're like, wow, it's been a while.
Well, no, she was communicating with people throughout the way. Like these Trans-Canada Trail, there's a lot of wild, remote areas, but there's some that's not. I mean,
But I mean, just you. Did she ever? I mean, she kept in contact with you the whole time then.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I got her a canoe to use. So she went across Lake Superior and also Manitoba. She also went up to I think the Churchill River. I forget the river she did, but part of that trail is a waterway trail. There's no land, so you have to paddle it. She borrowed one of my prospector tents to winter camp across, hauling it on a toboggan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I tell you, when she talks, like all those people that think they've done great things in their life just shut right up.
Yeah, you mentioned that before the show. What did you say? All the nurses? What was it again?
Yeah, all the narcissistic idiots that think that, sorry. But when I interviewed her, I was just like blown away. My daughter, 17-year-old, she's like, wow. And she's just speechless, right? In fact, my daughter even said, if you make Kevin speechless, you got to be good. Oh, wow. Yeah, I can
imagine there's a lot of truth to that, right? Oh, wow. That is so cool. That is so cool,
so she's going to do a film and a book on it now. So
that's so cool. That's very cool.
Well, I think we're going to take a break, but don't go away. We'll be back with more of The Camping Show on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV after these messages.
It's time to go camping. Introducing Campground View's virtual tours. You can tour the campground, see the sites, see if they are available, and click to book your perfect spot. Hit the open road and explore the amazing places found in nature. We make it easy to discover, find, and book your site so that you can go have the fun and freedom you seek. Campground View's virtual tours make it easy and simple for you to see where you are going.
A few years ago, someone asked Rutabaga's owner, Darren Bush, "Hey, how long have you guys been selling boats?" Darren replied, "We don't sell boats. We sell time on the water." Of course, that comes in all types. We help people paddle more safely with Rutabaga outdoor programs. We rent canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddleboards. We sell and install racks to get you from home to adventure. Rutabaga's got everything you need to get you out on the water, like paddles, life jackets, dry bags, and clothing. Rutabaga Paddle Sports, on the web at rutabaga.com. Mention you saw this ad on The Camping Show.
And we are back with our guest, Kevin Callan, on The Camping Show. Kevin, what kind of speaking engagements have you been doing this summer?
I didn't do any this summer.
No,
I wasn't doing.
Take a break.
Well, I mean, in the springtime, I generally do 40 to 60 presentations, right? I go crazy. This year was different because of COVID. I did them all online. Actually, I did more, actually. But yeah, once the season happens, I'm out of there because I don't want to be the person that actually used to do it.
Did what?
Right? Yeah, those people. Well, back in the day, I remember going to school. I always hated the teacher that said, "Well, back in the day when I did this, why are you not doing it now?" Like, I don't know.
Those who can't do, those who can't teach, right?
Yeah,
that's the old thing.
It is actually
right.
And yeah, so I did. This would just freak everybody out. Try this one, especially knowing me. I did 3 solo trips where I did not take my camera.
Oh wow, good for you. So you just enjoyed yourself. You didn't work. You just enjoyed.
No, I was on a lot of media this year because of what was going on, like we talked about. So many people going out, so many problems and things like that. So I was on TV and radio a lot. And then I finally, actually, my daughter just said, "Well, you better do what you say, Dad."
You know, so, I said this. I said rock star and forester in a little promo today. Somebody asked me, "What's a forester?" Did you see that? I go, as a la forestry. And it was just funny. I'm like, hey, come on, you got Siri and Alexa. Just look. Anyway, but yeah. And then somebody asked if Willow was single. I said, well, her fiance is a Marine, U.S. Marine or something like that.
Kevin just told me about that before the show, and I didn't even see it.
Standard answer. We try to look out for our co-host. Here you
go. Oh my Lord! I think sometimes people should think.
What did they say? Something about if the Rock is something, and there was something else. You have to go read the promo. I said rock star, and the guy goes, "Yeah, if the Rock was something." I forget what he said, but it was.
I also think that he was saying that Willow was a far more better person than me.
Oh, that was the same guy as the first guy.
Which is true, Willow.
But
he doesn't know anything.
But you are a rock star. You're like everywhere. You're like David Letterman, all over the the airwaves and TV and all this other doing interviews. Yeah,
I think that had a lot to do with why I went and just brought my journal like I used to in my canvas pack, and it was good not to film. I was burnt out, and actually COVID burned me out too because I was actually here a lot by myself because we couldn't go anywhere because we're regional lockdown. Yeah. And when I was able to go, I just sort of said I went to Crown Land, so I didn't go to a park. So I just didn't want to see anybody. I love people, I just didn't want to see anybody on the trip, just the dog and I. Went to some Crown Land and found out of the 3 trips, 2 of the routes I hadn't been to before at all. So I found new Crown Land. You guys don't have Crown Land in the States, but it's basically an area outside of a park that any Canadian or American, if you get a permit, can freely go and camp anywhere. So
we don't have Crown Land, but we do have Crown Royal. So which is different.
No, that's one of the worst rides.
Oh, see, I like that. I like that stuff. Yeah, we have different tastes. I'm sorry, Willow, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if you haven't been doing any speaking engagements, have you had any noteworthy experiences during any of your summer trips?
Yeah, one great one was my partner Christine and I went and did the Upper French River, and she car camps a lot. Like she's camped all her life, but what I mean is had like a campground. So going in the backcountry is a little different for her. So I made sure she went on a trip that she would enjoy and not hate. So there wasn't any portages. We didn't really see anybody because we went and did the upper part of the Upper French, and we saw native painting she's never seen before. And I know all that area because I've been there all the time. I kept thinking how many places I've gone to in my life, and a lot of places. And now it's really time to share her. Look at this place. Sure. And it was an easy route, really. I love that trip. We saw a lot of wildlife. I mean, gosh, I've been going to the places where I camped. I've been going there since I was 12 years old with my dad. So it was nice to take her there, and she had never been. So,
did you let her take her sleeping mat?
She has so many sleeping pads. Oh my god,
you were so mean. You were such a mean boy.
Oh, she has. Here's the thing.
I saw that on Instagram. I go, Kevin is going to be in so much trouble. And then you posted it on social media. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how you're still here, honestly.
Well, and that's funny too, because we all post on social media, and after a while we have to walk away from that too. So that was kind of nice. When I did those solo trips, I kind of walked away from it. But yeah, well, she's retired. She was able to retire early because she worked at a prison, and so she took the chance. And of course, I can't retire. I work for myself. So, but she also had to reduce the amount of things she was buying. So she kept on saying, Kevin, control what I buy. Don't let me go on Amazon today, for heaven's sakes. And there's no stopping her. I don't like how many sleeping pads. Like,
how do you do that? Yeah. How do you stop someone from shopping on Amazon? Yeah.
It's like, Kevin, stop having your whiskey.
You're right. I think both can be an addiction, really. Yeah. Absolutely. Willow's got a loaded question. Go ahead, Willow.
I wanted a silence for, build the anticipation.
Sorry.
So without making mention of the latest public health threat, do you anticipate government mandated lockdowns happening again?
It comes and goes here, and it depends on what province you're in, just like what state you're in, where you are. But right now, school starts in about a week or two, and the media in Ontario they're talking about a possible another fourth lockdown.
Wow.
I don't know. There's so much there, and like what you have in the States too. There's so many different views and stuff of that with what's going on, and it's so people are just so frustrated with it, right? And I get it.
Yeah.
Like I was at the hospital today to get some tests. Nothing to do with. I just had a sore throat, but I had to do all COVID stuff beforehand, whatever. But I saw the lineup of people, and they're just sad. They're just sad because we're not having fun.
Well, Willow, what do you think about that? I want to ask you. We've been blabbing back and forth, and you've been a little quiet. So chime in there. What do you think about that?
About like lockdowns.
Yeah, being miserable. I mean,
yeah, it's hard. I mean, I feel like I was uniquely situated during the lockdown because I was actually given the opportunity to spend more time in nature. So while I can appreciate and acknowledge how horrible the lockdown was for a lot of people, I was kind of living in the woods up in Duluth because my aunt and uncle, their house, their backyard is basically the woods. So I spent all the time outside, social distancing that way. So I'm a bad person to ask.
Well, you know what though, not seeing a lot of people. How do you deal with how do you deal if you're just not seeing people for a while? Are you good with that, or are you like, oh, I need people?
It depends on my mood. Honestly, I'm pretty good being independent, but I usually do need at least like one or two people there for me.
Okay. Kevin, you could probably live for like what months on end without people.
Yeah, to be quite honest, I'm actually a really shy person. I'm a closet introvert. So
I understand that. Yeah, and then the entertainment comes out. I get that totally.
Yeah, but when I'm not doing that, I shut down. Like so, I'm very lucky too. I have a place that's out in the country, and regionally I could actually go 10 minutes and go on a nature trail, and I got to know places I didn't even know about before because I had time to explore my own neighborhood, right? Yeah. But I couldn't imagine like my poor mom. She's in her 80s and she's living in an apartment and near the city, and right. So,
well, I have two dads, and one lives down the road from me here, at my adopted father, and then my biological father in California. And I know that when this whole lockdown, he was like very depressed. I mean, he couldn't see, he couldn't go do anything, and it's like, and he lives by himself because my mom passed away here. That affects people. And when you're depressed, man, I mean, you do stupid things like you drink, I guess, but you do other things too. And it's not a good deal. So if you guys go into a fourth lockdown, what do you anticipate up there?
I think there'll be rebellion in one sense for it. We're going into a federal election here too, so that's a bit of a problem. But I also, my sister's a nurse practitioner, and she's told me horror stories where she works, right? So I'm going to do everything that she's telling me to do,
right?
And I think maybe we'll all figure out how to get through it. I mean, after the fourth lockdown, I just hope it doesn't happen. It all depends. Like in some provinces, you don't even have to wear a mask, right? They're changing that because there's been no COVID. But it's like provinces that don't have a large population base, right?
Well, we just got our mask mandate here Monday. Now we're having to start wearing masks.
Yeah, a couple of provinces that did have it didn't have it. They brought it back though, because they're worried about that other strain going around. But it does prove that going out in the woods. I always laugh. You see all those zombie movies, and everybody goes, "Well, if that ever happened, I'm okay because I got all the camping gear." And I'm heading out. I'm going to get away from everybody. And the zombies won't even kill me. In fact, I actually got an interview for a TV show about zombies going after people. And the happy camper was going to escape because he was camping. And never wear it. But
I love it.
But when the reality came in, and no, you can't. I mean, once a lockdown happens here, there's a whole bunch. You can't go camping.
Well, they have to find you. First of all, and I think that's what a lot of people are thinking, like, who the hell's going to find us if we're out there deep enough? I mean, right. But
it's a tough one.
Yeah. Roxy, let's, we got some photos that Kevin sent us. Let's put those up and we'll have him talk about, tell us a little bit about
There I am with the bee outfit.
Yeah. This. Okay. Now I got it. I thought you were dressed up like a bumblebee. No, I'm joking.
I'm very sexy in that shot. Ooh.
You're sexy in every shot, Kevin. You're a rock star, right? What do you do? Okay, wait a minute. What are you doing with those canoes in the bee suit? What's the canoe? Is that just in the picture? Or
the canoe was with me the whole trip because we would paddle routes all the time. We're not on that particular day. But yeah, it was a great journey though. We did something every day. And I interviewed probably 3 to 5 groups a day on different things about what was going on in the province. And yeah. Now the fun part is Christine, because she was retired, she goes, well, I'll go with you because it sounds like a good holiday. I went, yeah, it's going to be fun, but we start in the morning and don't end till really late. And end up there was 16 of the 18 days were thunderstorms, heat wave. Oh, wow. My dog got the trots and got really sick. I got the trots. And
sounds like a great time, Kevin.
Yeah, but it still was.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah.
Is that one of those bug? That's one of those bug shelters.
Well, yeah. What happened was I put the tarp up because it was just downpouring rain all day, and then the bugs came out as well, the mosquitoes. So that's a good picture because that shows Christine's expertise on campground equipment. Because that's what she would take on a campground. I would never take that bug shelter with poles in the interior. She put that up, and I put my lightweight tarp on top that I would take to the backcountry, and we mesh.
Nicely. You complement one another.
Oh my Lord, that's a messed up story. That's Jumbo the elephant. When you go to these local areas that you didn't even know existed. I mean, I grew up near this town. I didn't know that Jumbo the elephant in 1885 he was the main elephant for the circus, famous elephant, and he got hit by the train and died because he was trying to help a baby elephant across the track.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
And you're reading, so you don't know anything about this. You're like, I didn't know this, and you're reading all the information, and then you found out that the circus stuffed him and then took him around for another 30 years as a stuffed elephant.
What?
Yes.
What?
That's
wow.
Wow.
Oh.
What do we got here? Hey, this is after a night of partying. What is it?
No. Every day I would go to a local brewery that made their own beer and I would interview them and then they would give me beer. So that's an example of what I was calling.
That's interesting. Is that all the ones they make or there are more?
Oh, I had a lot more. I brought so much beer home and then mistakenly I actually told my buddies and yeah.
You can meet a lot of cool people that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I met some really, really cool people that actually they own their own business. They do their own thing, but then COVID happened and their life was a disaster, but they pulled through because of the community. The community pulled through. I was in one town, we were camping at Selkirk campground, and we went into town, and someone that knew my books and stuff that they owned a restaurant, so they made us a rib dinner outside in the barbecue. And their friend came up, and he had a flask of whiskey, and I said, "What's up with this?" He goes, "Well, I've been for years carrying this in my backpack, hoping I would meet you in Algonquin and share whiskey on the portage with you. And I found out you're in town because of your social media. So him and I on the street of Selkirk drank his whiskey. So
that's great.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You are such a rock star, Kevin. I love it. Handing out autographs and drinking whiskey. How about it?
It's terrible. It's terrible. Oh, yeah. I met, I didn't meet them. I know them really well. This is the gang from Novacraft. They've been friends for years. And so they make their boats in London. And we camp nearby. So they came out and went for a paddle with us. And why I liked it is I always see these guys at canoe shows, like Canoecopia, the Toronto show, and you really don't have a solid time to have a good chat about nothing, you know? So we went for paddle and we just had a pleasant experience. So
that's cool.
Whoa, so pretty.
Yeah, that's the campsite on the French River. So that's on the north bay of the north part of the French River, and we didn't see anybody at all there.
Is that those are Novacrafts, aren't they?
Yeah, don't paddle around a canoe that actually says the Happy Camper on the side. You'll get some people paddling up to you.
What happened to the boat that you had? And it was the whole the red the red maple leaves on. I remember that's the first time I remember seeing you.
Yeah.
And in that boat, and I thought, well, that's a cool looking canoe.
Yeah, my buddy borrowed that.
Van Halen's guitar a little bit.
Yeah, I still have it. I still have that canoe. Yeah, and they basically did that as a joke. Isn't this funny? And then I take it on trip.
Oh.
It's a good boat. So
They did it as a joke. Why? It's cool.
Well, well, what happened was they made a thing in Canada called National Canoe Day. Yeah. And the Canoe Museum wanted a whole bunch of media hype on it. And James Raffin, that I think you guys know, he asked me if I could help out. And I said, well, I'll get a canoe that will be on TV a lot. And he goes, yeah, you go. And he goes, I know you're a little different, Kevin. We trust you. I was like, no problem. So I got that boat made. And I was on, I don't know how many morning shows with that boat. And I remember a very elitist paddler at the museum got very upset with me, and she said, that's not a canoe, because she thought I should have a cedar canvas historic canoe, right? Because it's the Canoe Museum. And I went, yeah, but you weren't on TV, were you?
Wow. Well, you just showed us all these beautiful pictures of your trips. So I want to know, what sort of trips do you have planned for the winter and fall, or fall and winter?
Yeah, so I got a lot of trips for the fall. My buddy Andy and I were supposed to do a huge trip in the far north just a couple of weeks ago, and then he got busy at work, so we had to extend that into the fall. So I'm going up to up by Lake Superior, doing a big trip there. I love the fall. To be quite honest, there was a lot of bugs this year and a lot of heat. I don't do well in heat waves, so I'm looking forward to the fall. And then by mid-October, I'll get my hot tent out, my prospector tent out, and then I'll put that in the canoe, and I'll use that to sleep in. And then when the snow flies, I love it. I'm going to go winter camping again with a hot tent and a toboggan. And yeah, I mean, we're really lucky here. We have 4 seasons, right? I mean, things are changing with the weather and stuff that's going crazy, but we still have 4 seasons, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. That is a nice thing. I was just thinking, we had a pretty hot summer here. It's been very dry. Now that people are getting some rain, but right where I'm at, it's been a drought. It really has been a drought. And, that's caused some problems. The crops aren't what they should be, but you probably got that sort of thing going on a little bit up there too. It sounds like everybody's got a little bit of a weather issue this year. Yeah.
Well, the forest fires were so bad out west that I live quite a ways. It would take me 3 solid days to drive out west from here, and every night when I was camping, it would be a weird sunset because it was blocked by the smoke. Wow. And then just the other day, I was paddling in Algonquin, and there was a black rim around my canoe, and I went, "What is that?" And it was actually the charcoal from the smoke that had been landing on the lake from out west, like that far away, and we're getting it here.
Reminds me of a song, "Smoke on the Water," maybe. Sorry, see, that's some hippie stuff there, Willow.
It's true. Smoke on the water, fire in the sky.
Yep. Lake Geneva. That was Switzerland song. I think that happened.
That's funny. My band used to play that song.
Yeah.
I think every band played that song.
We're out of time. I was going to ask you about that, but real quick, before Willow asks you your social media, I just want to make a comment. I think your whiskey fireside chats should actually be a show, a regular weekly live show. So, and I'm
100%.
Yeah, it would make a great podcast. The other day I was thinking about that, and I don't know if I would have the time. I don't know. Like, I'm never home, so
yeah, I get it. Totally.
Yeah, and the one other thing why I liked it the way I did it, it wasn't live, so I was able to embed a bunch of videotape of those people doing their thing in the interview, and I like that part of it. Where if I was doing a radio podcast live, I would get the voice. So what I think I'm going to do, so this will answer your question. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take those back when I have time, and if we get locked down again, I'll have lots of time. Mm-hmm. I'm going to actually create all those into podcasts separate.
Do it. Absolutely.
Wow. Well, where can our Evans go to follow Kevin on social media?
Well, just the Happy Camper Canoe. Just follow it. It's like the best is actually to go to Casey Happy Camper on my YouTube channel. If you want to watch those fireside chats, D. Whalen, check it out. It's the latest one I did. There's lots of them there, and a bunch of other videos too, and also Gary the Puppet. messed up. And then my social media, I'm at KCA Happy Camper on Instagram and the Happy Camper on YouTube, and also Kevin Callan, not YouTube, Facebook, and Kevin Callan on Facebook too. So tell me how your trips went this year. And if you have any questions about canoe routes too, I answer them all the time. I really enjoy doing that. And I'm so glad that people are getting out there, just maybe learn a little bit more ethics.
Yeah, absolutely. Well put. So, well, Kevin, thanks for being on the show again. It's always a pleasure having you back here, and we'll have you back again, I'm sure. So,
thanks a lot, guys. And Bob, Bob, what's it, Bob? No,
the painting's all gone on Bob now.
Yeah, yes.
Right.
We also want to thank our sponsors, Campground Views and Rutabaga Paddle Sports, for bringing you tonight's show.
Be sure to tune in for next week's episode, all about canoes, with our special guest, Bear Paulson.
Until then, thank you for tuning into the Camping Show.
This is C.W. Getz
and Willow Munson,
reminding you,
learn more,
do more.
See you next week.